Hey everybody, welcome back to a video response. This is to MameMeister, who asked the question, what period of your video gaming life would you like to revisit for 1 week and why? Now this is a very good question, in particular it's a lot before he asked, because it's tough to pick your favorite generation, because I've pegged a certain period and that's 1995. So 1 week, what would it be? It would have to be the week of Christmas. So if it's a set week, it'd probably be the week of Christmas. If I could just pick 7 days, it would be starting maybe on the day of Christmas Eve on. So why 1995? Because it gave us too much. So if you were a PC gamer especially, you were in heaven. So I've got some props here. I've also got some PDFs queued up on my Kindle that showed what everyone was playing at the time. So, and these issues are from 1995, the November issue, which would have been printed a month earlier, but or written a month earlier, just to show you what people came out about that time, what they were playing. But the December one, which would have been written in November. So why 95? Well, the two biggies would be, it was the launch of this in the US, Sega Saturn, right? First prop, Sega Saturn. Second prop, Sony PlayStation. One came out in May, one came out in September. The PlayStation launched with some incredible games, but especially by December, we had a lot of good stuff to choose from console-wise, including one of my favorite games of all time, Jumping Flash. In addition to one of my favorite platformers of all time, Rayman. Both of those came out in 95. So, I mean, here's from the Game Players, where is it at? Game Players, boom, boom, boom. November 95 issue. So, it's going to have what the staff was playing and what everyone else was playing. So, the staff's top 10 included Wipeout, Loaded, Virtua Fighter 2, Destruction Derby, which also came out in 95, Tekken 2 in the arcade, Air Combat for the PlayStation, Earthworm Jim 2 for the Genesis, Warhawk, and the reader's top 10 includes Donkey Kong Country, Killer Instinct, Final Fantasy III, NBA Jam TE, Mortal Kombat 3, the arcade version of Daytona USA, Toshinden, the arcade version of Virtua Fighter 2, Earthworm Jim for Genesis, and Mortal Kombat 2 for the Super Nintendo. So many heavy hitters right there. And like I said, not necessarily those were released in 95, but that's what you would be playing in that period. So some of them were relatively new. Some would come out earlier in the year. Let me see what issue this is. Computer Gaming World. So what were the readers playing then? MechWarrior 2 also came out in 95. Panzer General, Star Trek The Next Generation, XCOM Terror from the Deep, Dark Forces also came out in 95. Descent also came out in 95. TIE Fighter, which had its CD-ROM re-release in 1995, which is, to me, the definitive version. XCOM UFO Defense, and Wing Commander 3. From the Game Players December issue, their top 10 shifted a little. It includes now World Series Baseball for the Saturn, Zero Divide, Wipeout, Virtua Fighter Remix, and Super Bomberman 2. The reader's top 10 shifted a little, added Virtua Fighter for the 32X and Chrono Trigger for the 32X. And that's because what all was released in 95, well, here are a few notables. And these are some massive hitters. So, I mentioned Toshinden, Star Wars Dark Forces, Panzer Dragoon, Chrono Trigger, Descent, Mortal Kombat 3, Jumping Flash, Super Bomberman 3, Full Throttle, Earthbound, and the arcade Street Fighter Alpha, MechWarrior 2, I mentioned that one, Phantasmagoria. The Super Nintendo was still kicking with some more games. Super Mario 2 Yoshi's Island came out in 95. Some massive, massive PC games. I'm going to hit you with 3 whoppers right now. 1, Command & Conquer. 2, Heroes of Might and Magic. And 3, coming in at the beginning of December, one of my all-time favorites, Warcraft 2. So when we're talking Christmas week, this is what I got that Christmas, and that's what I played all week. The majority of it. So if we're beginning the week, I can start on the day of Christmas Eve. It would have been this plus would have rented some console stuff. Would have downloaded tons more PC demos. Terranigma came out overseas. We also got I mentioned Destruction Derby. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Twisted Metal, Donkey Kong Country 2, Marathon 2 from Mac players, which I was always jealous of because they had some great artwork. Bungie's early first-person shooter series. Worms debuted in 1995. Phantasy Star 4 came out in the U.S. in 1995. I'm getting too excited. Let's see. Overseas, Suikoden came out. We wouldn't get that till a few months later, unfortunately. The Beast Within, a Gabriel Knight mystery. All those came out in 1995. So you had the launch of the Saturn, the launch of the PlayStation, both of which could be rented from Blockbuster with a hefty fee and a credit card, but you could still get those. Find the launch games on the shelf. Plus, it's important that the post-launch window added a bunch of games that have gone on to be some of my favorites. So you had all those on the shelves, plus bulletin board systems packed with PC demos for series that still go on today. Heroes of Might and Magic and Command & Conquer and Warcraft 2 and Descent and Dark Forces in the same year. And in many cases, these were all within 2 or 3 months of each other. So if I could go back to any period, it would definitely be then. It's that transition period where we first get the 32-bit machines, you get the launch lineup. Now you've gotten, 4 to 5 months of additional games, and a handful did come out. The Jaguar is still around. It got Rayman the same year, so the Jaguar is still kicking. The 3DO is still around. So you just had a ton of consoles. If you were like me, you were a bit excited or lukewarm against the Jaguar or 3DO because you didn't really see them in person, but you see the commercials. You read some reviews. Some people liked it. There were some definite highlights. There were definitely titles that made you kind of wonder. But now you were on this cusp of a whole new generation because the Saturn and PlayStation looked like they were the next step up. So you had all of that just waiting for you. You could go to a Blockbuster. I could grab a copy of Jumping Flash, Rayman, Twisted Metal, go home, download demos of I Have No Mouth, Warcraft 2, and Descent. And all that is new. Or you could go rent a copy of Chrono Trigger. I think Earthbound might have came out around that time as well. That year, especially that period of that year, is, like I said, it's almost too much. It was too good to us. I was around then. I didn't have any money. I was younger, but I did have a PC. Was downloading demos like crazy. I think I had an AOL account at the time. As many demos as my little hard drive could fit. Back then, it was probably, like 300 megs or something. I did get a PlayStation that year, so I would have gotten the Saturn a few months after that. So if I could go back and I could have my choices what to do, and if the memories would still be kind of fresh, I'd have my PlayStation, I'd go rent these games, which I did, and I also played the demo disc like crazy. I would rent the Saturn, and I'd rent Chrono Trigger to experience that when it was brand new. And of course, I would have done what I did with the PC games, which is grab a PC Gamer magazine and play every demo they had. So yeah, that is definitely the period, my favorite period, and that is the week I would spend in late December 1995. Great question. Thanks for asking it and getting the community involved. And I will talk to everyone later.